Okay. Hello and good evening once again, everyone. I'm back, and I'm your teacher, Jetro Magno. And today we will be discussing an important part of our previous lesson last time, since it is all about the syntax, and we are done with sentence structure and syntax, about phrasing, the noun phrase, and every phrases that. Uh, you tried. Right now, there's one thing that we forgot, and this is what we call the clauses or the clause and a sentence structure. So before we go to our discussion, let's have a recap about what we discussed last time. So right now, let's have this one. Okay, these are the 10 exams that you answered, and it's I best believe that some of you really uh, I mean experience difficulties on how to do this one. But luckily and unfortunately, there are lots of you also that answered these um, syntax tree diagramming uh, perfectly, or I should say almost perfect, and that's very good of you guys. Whichever asa mo nabutan dito na part, as long as you tried your best. That's the important, and that's the essence of um, learning the core knowledge. So right now, let's go directly with the sentences, and I will give you some recaps on why is it this is NP, VP, PP, and everything. So the first sentence is the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Okay, we have sentence in here. We have sentence in here, and this is NP. VP, it should be divided into two because sentence is divided both noun phrase, which is the subject, and verb phrase, which is the predicate. So right now, basically uh, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. So if this is the sentence, we will have this as the quick brown fox. This will be the end of our noun phrase because jumps is already a verb. Since this is already a verb, this will be the starting point on our verb phrase. Okay, so this is the NP, and the quick brown fox. The is a determiner, and quick brown fox. Quick and brown are adjectives, so it means to say that adjectives gives more meaning on the noun in here, the fox. So it is a phrase. And what phrase should it be? It is in an adjective phrase because these two are adjectives. So before we have adjective, and noun in here, adjective, and noun, it is under these three are under with this adjective phrase to continue to complete the noun phrase, and the VP in here starts with a verb, and we cannot include the verb in the phrases because verb is special um, what you call it one um, piece of our parts of speech. And in here we have uh, over the lazy dog. So we got, what is this? Over is considered as preposition, so this is prep. And the lazy dog, since we have the, just like the quick brown fox, it means to say that this could be a noun phrase because the is a noun. I mean, determiner. All pronouns and articles are considered to be a noun, so it will under the noun phrase. Lazy is an adjective, and noun is the dog. So adjective plus noun, that will be an adjective phrase. Then adjective phrase plus determiner, which is the lazy dog, will be a noun phrase. And the over is the preposition. So all of these, the prep and the noun phrase is prepositional phrase. So this is the correct tree diagramming uh, of this sentence. Let me clear the drawing and let's go to the next page. Okay, the Japanese yen for commerce is still well known. Okay, so we have okay, wait a minute. We have sentence in here as between S are NP and VP, and the Japanese yen for commerce. So this will be the end point of our noun phrase. And everyone, please be reminded that is not an auxiliary in here. This is a linking verb. So it links the Japanese yen, and this is considered as a verb, not an auxiliary. Okay, so um, we have the noun phrase in here, but in here, guys, I know that some of you answered a UX, some of you answered linking verb, though there's no linking verb that I included in our in reference, and some of you answered verb, but honestly, I put consideration in this type of sentence if we have is, are, has, have something in our sentence structure. So we have in here, let's go back. We have NP and VP. The is the debt, the determiner. Japanese is uh, everyone. Japanese in here is not a noun, but it functions as adjective because the yen in here is the money. And what kind of money? So it is a Japanese. So it is a Japanese money or a Japanese yen. So Japanese is an adjective in here. So we have Japanese as an adjective plus yen as a noun. If we combine that one, because the Japanese yen should be as one, so it will be under with the adjective phrase because adjective is the Japanese in here is an adjective. Next we have for commerce. So we still have for commerce. For is prep, and commerce is a noun, so it will be directly considered as prepositional phrase. So all of these the three of these, the debt, the Japanese yen, and for commerce, uh, it will it will under be the NP, the noun phrase. Kung basta nalibog mo guys nganong wala ko nagbutang og adjective phrase is under na nag-ana siya diri I mean wala na drawing. Basig nalibog mo sa tong drawing na ko diri. Okay, basig nalibog mo everyone nganong ang Japanese yen is dili under diri I mean ang for commerce is dili Japanese yen because as we read it bits by bits, we have the Japanese yen for commerce. We can actually exclude for commerce. We can have the Japanese yen is still well known. It's still understandable, and it still has a complete thought. So as you try to dissect the sentence, uh, it serves. I mean, it reflects the different purpose and nature of uh, the phrasing. Okay, so that's why I put the PP above the NP, not PP above the adjective phrase. Okay, so I hope everyone uh, understand that one. And we have the VP in here. Verb is still considered as a special verb, so we should not include it in every phrases because the verb is special. And we have still well known. Actually, well known, a well known. Well is another word, known is another word, but this is considered as compound noun, I think. But in here, it serves as an adjective. So it is an adjective phrase. So still is an adjective because it defines the well known. It is still currently, and well known defines the Japanese yen for commerce, that it is still well known. So all in all, this is an adjective phrase, ADJP, and that is for number two. Am I recording this one? Yep. Next, we have number three. Okay, John wished she has chosen the red button. Okay, so this is one of the simplest one. Um, sentence. divided into two, the noun phrase and the verb phrase, since John and after the John or Jean include has its verb directly wished. So we have just one. NP below NP is the noun because Jean is a noun. Jean is not an NP directly, but it is a noun, and noun only can be considered as NP directly. So we have verb phrase in here. Verb phrase we have wished and as alone, as so simple, and she has chosen. So even when we say uh, Jean wished, she has chosen. So it is still has a thought. So it means to say that she has chosen is a verb, is a phrase. But when we say Jean wished, she has chosen what? What's our object in here? The red button. So the red button in here is another phrase. Okay, so we shouldn't include the red button under she has chosen because as you can see, what we tried to dissect earlier is that there's a role between she has chosen and the red button. Okay, so in here, the verb phrase has NP. Why it is NP? Because she is a pronoun, and pronoun determiners articles are considered nouns. So all of the constituents around that phrase is considered as NP. Has is ox in here, it is still a verb, so it is considered as just what I mentioned earlier because it wasn't clear. Next, chosen is a verb, so this is a verb, but we have a what you call pronoun in here that we consider as noun, so this will be a noun phrase, and we have noun phrase again, the the determiner. But in here, red button is another phrase because red is an adjective and button is a noun. So it will become an adjective phrase, and determiner plus adjective phrase, the plus red button will be a noun phrase, and that is the red button. And the verb phrase overall, when we connect these two phrases and another verb, will become a verb phrase overall. Next, we have the morning air blew gently in the garden. So we have sentence, the noun phrase, and the verb phrase. The morning air is our noun phrase. So the is the determiner and morning air. The morning is a noun, but in here it is used as an adjective because it modifies air. It simply um, um, justify what type of air. So what type of air? It is a morning air. Okay, so it will be an adjective phrase in here, and determiner plus an adjective phrase will become a noun phrase, and that is the noun phrase. And let's go with the verb phrase that starts with the blue, and that is our verb. And gently is another thing because as you can see, the morning air blew in the garden. It is understandable, it has a complete thought even we exclude the gently, but since gently is another part of the sentence and the, its role is to give justification or modification to the verb, so it will become an adverb. And since it is an adverb and it has a different role, even we excluded one, the sentence still has a thought. So um, it is different from the phrases. We shouldn't include that one. Just like the verb, it has um, what should you call it? Special purpose. So dili siya isa-isa siya dapat. So one adjective will go directly sa VP. I mean, an adverb will go directly sa VP. And what we have in here is in the garden. Muna lang siya nabilin. So in is a preposition. And let's go in here. Prep. The garden is a noun phrase because the is a determiner and garden is a noun, and it will become a noun phrase when preposition plus noun phrase will become a prepositional phrase. So we have blue as verb, gently as adverb, in the garden as prepositional phrase. It will become the verb phrase. Overall, we have NP, VP, sentence. Next, this is he was the type of guy who liked Christmas lights on his house in the middle of July. So this is a complex one, but as you can see, it is very simple when we try to dissect each phrases because uh, how we pause in our reading is actually the phrases when we structure it. For example, he was the type of guy. So it has a thought already. He was the type of guy, but what? So he should be a single one. Was is should be a single one, but the type of guy. So that is the thought in there. That is the another phrase. So the type of guy is a phrase. Since the it starts with a determiner, it will become noun phrase directly. Next is he was the type of guy. What again? Who liked Christmas. Who liked Christmas lights. So who is the determiner and it will become noun phrase again. Then on his house in the middle of July. So he was actually we can have he was the type of guy who liked Christmas lights in the middle of July. So pwede siya. Next, he was the type of guy who liked Christmas lights. Pwede kay siya. Like dili na to include ang kuan latter na part. And also we can say that he was the type of guy who liked Christmas lights on his house. So there are different types of phrases uh, that we can, sentences that we can create out of those different phrases. But since we have this full lengthy sentence, let's try to um, tree diagram this one. So he is the only pronoun, subject, so it is pronoun and it will become NP directly. And here, these are all the verb phrases because um, because this is the verb phrase. Okay, so let's start with verb. Verb is important one, so lahi siya diri, ah. Next, the type of guy, basically the type of guy is a noun phrase because the is determiner and type is a noun. But we have of guy. Of is a preposition and noun is guy is a noun. So preposition plus noun, we can directly conclude that it is a prepositional phrase. So the type of guy is composed of that noun, then prepositional phrase that will become the noun phrase, and it will be connected directly to the VP. Next, who like Christmas lights? Christmas lights, just like in here, who is a determiner, but this is a kalimut ko sa ni mga who, what, that, mga uh, basta descriptive, I think. Descriptive din sila ng mga nana, kalimut ko. But in here, this is considered as determiner. So this will be a noun, and like is a verb. And Christmas lights, though Christmas lights in here is, I mean, generally Christmas is a noun because maybe it is an event or it is a thing. But in here, Christmas is used as an adjective because it modifies lights. What type of lights? So it is a Christmas lights. So adjective phrase. So determiner plus verb plus adjective phrase will become a noun phrase. Next, on his house. On is a preposition. His house. His is a pronoun. And house is a noun. So it will become an NP. So prep plus NP will become NP. Then it will become PP because that is a preposition. So that will become a prepositional phrase. Next, prep in the middle of July, prepositional phrase. In is a prep, the is that, but middle of July is still a phrase in there because uh, when, middle of, or uh, when of July, middle of July. So that's it. So in the middle of July, it is a noun phrase because the is a that and middle is a noun. But in here we have of, which is a preposition, and July is a noun. So preposition plus noun will become it will become a prepositional phrase and it will become an PP. So that plus noun plus PP will become an NP. And still we have in the middle of July. So prep in plus NP, the middle of July will become pre-P. So we have verb NP, NP, PP, PP will all become under the VP, the verb phrase, and completes the sentence structure in here. Next, we have today is the hottest day of the year. So this is very simple. We have a sentence in here. NP today is a noun, noun, NP. And VP starts is the hottest day of the year. So VP starts with the verb is. Next is the hottest day. So actually we can actually exclude of the year to identify how many phrases do we have in our sentence. So today is the hottest day. That's a complete thought. But in here, today is the hottest day of the year. We included another phrase, and this that is a prepositional phrase. Starts with of as preposition. Guys, preposition din. Wala na ako natarong, pero preposition ni siya. Wait a minute. Prep, ana siya. Prep, then, the year, the is a determiner, year is a noun, so that will become an NP. So prep plus NP will become the PP, prepositional phrase. This one, the hottest day, it is an NP. Why? Because from here, that is, the is a determiner, so above NP, I mean below NP. But hottest day, hottest is an adjective that modifies what type of a day. So it is a hottest day. It is a hot day. So an adjective plus noun will be an adjective phrase, and determiner plus an adjective is a noun phrase. So today is the hottest day of the year is composed of noun NP and VP is verb NP and PP. So I hope everyone got it. Next, okay, here, asa kulang tag pila na lang. Taas-taas pa. The memory we used to share is no longer coherent. Sad kasi na. But actually, this is so simple. We have sentence, NP, VP again. We have the memory we used to share. Asa gid mag start ang ato ang verb phrase kung asa pod mag end atong noun phrase. So diri siya sa share. So is our verb in here. So dira magsugod ato ang verb phrase. So the whole noun phrase in here is the memory we used to share. But actually, if we try to phrase it bits by bits, we have the memory we used to share is no longer coherent. Because when we try to exclude some phrases, just like this one, the memory is no longer coherent. It still has a thought. That means to say that the memory is another phrase we used to share that which has been added earlier in my discussion is another phrase, is a verb, and no longer coherent is another phrase. So basically NP in here is composed of NP, the memory, that, and noun phrase is a noun phrase. So that would be one. And we used to share is NP, but in but below NP, since NP, the reason why this is NP because we have pronoun in here, the we, verb is used, and to share is a prepositional phrase because to is a preposition and share is a verb, and when we try to add that both of them, it will become a prepositional phrase. So NP plus, I mean, uh, pronoun plus verb plus prepositional phrase will become an NP. So that will be our whole noun phrase. And next we have the VP in here. No longer coherent. These are all adjective that modifies or gives more meaning to the memory. What memory? The memory that is no longer coherent. So that is an adjective. It does this. These are not adverb. One of these or is not adverb because if this is an adverb, it doesn't modify is because is in here is just our verb. It has no meaning overall about our noun phrase. But what we try to talk about no longer coherent is the memory. So it is an adjective. So it is an adjective phrase. Next, this book is sure. Sure na guys, mao di pagkasulat kay mao jud ko agi. Okay, this book is sure to liquefy your brain. So basically, we have a noun phrase. This is a simple one, a simpler one also. This book is a noun phrase composed of this as actually this is not a pronoun but this is a determiner, demonstrative determiner. That na siya but uh, my bad. But I think walay nagamit og pronoun dira as far as I checked. And book is a noun. Then verb phrase is composed of verb as it is alone. An adjective is sure in here because it modifies. Okay, wait a minute. As we try to phrasing this one, this book is sure to liquefy your brain. Mhm. Sure. This book is sure to liquefy. Sure to liquefy. Unsa ang sure diri ah? To liquefy man, di ba? Then ang liquefy is a verb. I think guys, sure in here is an adverb. This book is sure to liquefy because it modifies the liquefy, the thing that is the verb in here. I mean the other verb. Okay, but as you can see, naman po kayo consider last time, so do not be confused with the sure in here. But my last call would be this is an adverb, I think. So let's go to the prepositional phrase because as you can see, to starts with a preposition and to is a preposition. Liquefy or liquefy is a verb and your is a pronoun and brain is a noun. So overall, even when you try to uh, go directly, this is overall a prepositional phrase. Though your brain, we could actually include a noun phrase in in here, your brain. But I consider also that there are some students that forgot the noun phrase in there, so I also consider that one. So overall, we have NP and VP, the pronoun, noun, verb, and adjective, and the prepositional phrase. Next, we have this one. The beauty of sunset was obscured by the industrial cranes. So we have the sentence is composed of noun phrase and verb phrase, and the determiner, the beauty of sunset. So we have beauty of sunset. We cannot say the beauty of it. We can say beauty of sunset. It means to say the reason why I emphasize that one is because this is a phrase, beauty of sunset. You cannot say the of sunset or the beauty of because it doesn't have a thought at all. So the beauty of sunset, that is a noun phrase. Determiner the, this is an adjective phrase. Why? Because it starts with the beauty. It modifies the sunset. What type of sunset? It is a beautiful sunset. So the beauty of sunset. So it's an adjective, but in here, of sunset starts with an of. It means to say that it is a prep. Of is a prep, so it will be under with a prepositional phrase. So adjective plus prepositional phrase is an adjective phrase because it starts with an adjective. It doesn't start with a preposition. So determiner plus adjective phrase will become a noun phrase. And here, um, this is an ox actually because it links the beauty of in here between the predicate and the subject. So, but some other people, students, consider this as verb, but I will actually consider this one. It's okay. Next, obscured. Obscured is another verb. We cannot add verb plus verb will become verb phrase. That is really bad. Do not do not think about that one. When as long as you have different verbs, you should always make verb as a special one. It really depends on the phrases, but verbs are verbs. So we have in here uh, Was is a verb, obscured is a verb, but in here, by the industrial cranes, this is another phrase, and this is a prepositional phrase because it starts with prep. This is by, so on which part, by, prep, and between that preposition, I mean under that prepositional phrase, we have the industrial cranes, and the industrial cranes is a noun phrase because it has a that determiner, the. But inside the industrial cranes, we have industrial cranes. It is an adjective phrase because industrial, though an industrial is a noun, but it functions as an adjective because it modifies what type of crane. It is an industrial crane. So an adjective phrase plus that will be a noun phrase, and a preposition plus noun phrase will become a prepositional phrase. So that's it. Next, I think this is the last one. We have subject, I mean sentence. What is agi diri ano kinsa maning agi. Pero ako ani guys. Okay, sentence, below sentence are noun phrase and verb phrase, and the prize money, that is the only noun phrase we got because was is actually the verb itself, and that is the start of our verb phrase. So the NP we have in here is that, the. Then we have an adjective phrase because price is an adjective in here. What type of money? It is a price money. Ang perang pa daogon, ano siya. So the price money. Um, so it is an adjective phrase. Determiner plus an adjective phrase, it will become a noun phrase. So let's start complexly in the verb phrase. We have was as the verb and equally distributed. So that is a verb phrase because distributed is a verb. Then how or in which manner. So it is equally manner or in equal manner. So it is an adverb. So it will become an adverb phrase. And another one is among the players. So among the players in here, among is a preposition. That is the determiner is the, and noun is the player. So basically, since among is a preposition, it is prepositional phrase. Next, uh, of the winner winner team, though it's kind of like an of, but we can say winning team, but winner team. Okay, winner team is the most appropriate. So we have in here of is a preposition, so the whole phrase from of until the rest of it will become a prepositional phrase. So I mean, uh, under the prepositional phrase, we have noun phrase because we still have the winner. So under the noun phrase, we still have an adjective phrase. Why? Because winner, though it is a noun, it serves as an adjective because it modifies what type of team. Is it the loser team or the winner team? So it is a winner team. So an adjective phrase plus that will become a noun phrase. So noun phrase plus preposition will become a prepositional phrase. So PP plus adverb phrase, ADVP plus V will become a verb phrase. So I hope everyone has its clear idea, and I hope you were um, put into realization on the importance of the tree diagramming, and I hope that it really opens you on how you create sentences, how to read sentences, and how to identify if this is off, if this is good, this is bad, this is error, what so, and everything. Okay, so I hope, I best believe that mm, everyone has a big scores, but really, some of us in here in my class, daghan kag mali. So class, be reminded yun, ma-encounter man ninyo ni sooner or later. I hope na you will go back on this, uh, and if you weren't satisfied, just go with other links, other platforms, other search engines. to study more and um, inculcate the meaning and the functions of tree diagramming. So right now we are done with phrasing and all of the sentence structure and tree diagramming. So right now, let's talk about idealized structure. So I, from the word itself, ideal, what comes into your mind? And when we talk about structure, what comes into your mind? Let's talk about engineering or engineers. Are they idealized structure? Are they envisioned or envisions idealized structure? So basically, it's a big yes because um, though engineers are on the buildings and houses and infrastructures, but since we are teachers, we have this what we call idealized structure in our blood that runs come through whenever we use this one, whatever whatever situation, whatever happenings, whatever circumstances that we apply. It will come into our mouth like with the adrenaline rush. Maka-speak tag English directly, fluently, though there are some grammatical error, but wow, that is fluent. So right now, according to Merriam Dictionary, we have idealized from the uh, root verb itself, ideal, though ideal is a root word, not idea. So ideal is here satisfying one's conception of what is perfect or most suitable. Next is existing only in imagination. So imagination lang ba ang perfect? Ang perfection? Nag-dream ba mo perfect love life? Or perfect life, perfect um, future, whatever it is, let's talk about ideal because when we talk about ideal, we the best thing in the language uh, is that we can the only ideal in language is the structure. That's why it is called ideal structure because structure has formats. It has patterns, rules that uh, we must follow. There are steps on what should we do, and there are things that we should avoid that makes the structure um, meaningless or grammatically um, wrong or erroneous. So basically, when we talk about ideal structure, what could it be? Language or the voice or the communication? I don't know. But right now, ideal structure, the most stable form of the language, and one that has been described as ideal most consistently over the years is the written language. And that is true, and that is the fact because written language is like what I said earlier. It has structure. Structure composed of foundations and visions and missions and goals and patterns and formats and rules, regulations, and everything that makes it perfect. So that is why when we use our communication language, like using voice verbally, there are some filters like koan kanang koan good kanang katugong. So there are fillers just like that. There are also slang words that uh, ain't mga na good like sa mga sa mga other people, especially mga slang, mga sa tawanan nila, mga dialect nila. There are people na we ain't got inch I don't know ina dili na nga masabtan because that is not our nature. But when we use um, other things that we are used with it like um, ma'am sir instead of um, the first name or the last name. So whatever it is, when we use language like verbally, it sometimes it doesn't have It it shouldn't that be structured when we uttered those sentences. There are fillers, there are slangs, there are colloquials, there are colloquials. Everyone is just like the jargons that we can use in specific field, or colloquials are some form of unique language that has been formed by other people that is not being applicable with other people, like the gay lingo, that is a colloquial one that is made for the LGBTQ etc. Like, I don't know what is that, but it is for them. Respect for that. And some of the language that we use are, there are some informal and vulgar, and whatever it is not that structured enough. It doesn't follow. It doesn't always follow with formats. Like, for example, mag ano ka mag mamalikas ka, straight straight mga pamalikas or mga foul words. So wala siya kanang wala siya verb, wala siya kanang subject, wala siya noun phrase. Puro gid siya mga noun tanan, like ya, pe, bu, ano, puro ra gid siya noun. So wala siya structure. But in here, written language, that's it. That is why, as a teacher, we are envisioned to have this idealized structure. So in the syntax, we are taught to have this idealized structure. So right now, um, when we talk about structure, we have what we call sentences and phrases. Since we are done with those things, let's talk about clauses right now. So clauses, what are clauses? Now, before I begin, I want you to understand that I am going to look at the functions of the clauses today. I'm not going to look at how they are built or how to structure them or the conjunctions they use, the relative pronouns, demonstrative pronouns used, but only about functions. Though there are some points to ponder, but it's very important that you are able to recognize the different types of clauses and what type of clauses are these. So that's the main important. Once you recognize the function of a clause, you know how it's built. You know what it's doing in the sentence. You can understand the sentence better. You can write better sentences. So right now, dependent clauses, what are they? Independent clause, what are they? Independent and dependent clauses are the building blocks of sentences. A single independent clause can be a sentence by itself. However, dependent clauses are used to make sentences more complete and more interesting. Using conjunctions and proper punctuations, dependent and independent clauses can be joined together to create interesting and complex compound sentences that are fun and engaging to read. So that will be the dependent and dependent clause. So right now, let's talk about the independent clause. Just like what I told you, it can stand on its own by itself. It does not need to become adjoined to any other clauses because it contains all the information necessary to be a complete sentences. So all in all, independent clause is a perfect thought, thoughtful one. It has a complete thought. It is understandable. So in here, independent clauses have three components. First, they have a subject. Why? Because they tell the reader what the sentence is about. Next, they have an action or predicate. Why? Because they tell the reader what the subject is doing. Third is they express a complete thought. Something happened or something was said. Okay, so right now, independent clause can be as simple as a subject and a verb. For example, Jim reads, though it doesn't have an object, but this is a complete independent clause. Why? Because Jim is a subject and reads is a verb. So Jim is a subject, reads is an action or a verb. A complete thought was expressed, something was said, and the reader now knows that Jim likes to read. Okay, so independent clauses can also be joined to other independent clauses. So one independent clause plus one independent clause. If they if the independent clauses are related, so we can only join two related clauses. Okay, so when we try to join different clauses, that's another topic. But in here, we need to combine one independent clause that is a clause that is related or close to another independent clause. So, however, they must be joined using the proper punctuation. So, what is the proper punctuation when we use independent one? I mean, one independent and one independent. So, this is a thing. Jim read a book, then a semicolon or semicolon. He really enjoyed the book, or we can say he really enjoyed it, or he really enjoyed the book. But when we use it, it will um, like neglect the function. So we use the book in here. So Jim read a book. That is the first clause in is an independent clause. Jim is the subject. Read is the action. Book is the object. Okay, so Jim read a book. Next, the second clause is an independent clause too. He really enjoyed the book. He is the subject. Enjoyed is the action, and the book is the object. So in here, the independent clauses are related, so they can be joined to create a complex sentence. They are they are correctly joined by semicolon. So as you can see, this is the semicolon. Wait a minute, this one. So when we try to add or combine two independent clause, but when we try to combine two different independent clause using semicolon, the two independent clause should be so much close or so much related to with each other. Okay, but when sometimes we use a different perspective, for example, this one. Jim read a book. He really enjoyed the book. So as you can see, this is not a semicolon, but this is a comma. So again, we have two independent clauses, but the independent clauses are not joined properly. When two independent clauses are joined only by a comma, it's a grammatical error. So mali na siya. Okay? And it is called a comma splice. So that is a comma splice. So be reminded again, when we add two um, related uh, independent clauses, we should use semicolon. But when we use comma by adding two close independent clauses, it is a grammatical error and it is called a comma splice. Okay, so independent clauses can be joined. I can quite be complex. But the important thing in here is to remember that they can stand on their own and make sense alone. Okay, so I hope everyone got it. I know that there are lots of background knowledge, prior knowledge about the independent clause and dependent clause, blah 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 blah. But at least you remember this one, and please be reminded with the comma splice or that one, and how to use the semicolon. But actually, we can use the the comma, but when we use when we add conjunctions. So I will just discuss that one later. Next will be um, okay, delete ko muna. Okay, uh, since we are done with independent clause, let's go to dependent clause. Let's define it. A dependent clause is a clause that does not express a complete thought. So walay thought. So kaya, so a clause can be dependent because of the presence of a first marker word. What are these marker words? before, after, because, since, in order to, although. So kana tanan guys, kani tanan diri once gani mag-start ang imuhang clause or feeling mo sentence na siya pero clause gina siya. Once mag-start ang imuhang clause o ginana, it is a dependent clause. Nga naman, for example, before the day, before I fall in love, before I fell in love, before everything else, after the incident, because of my desire, because of my love, since the day you left me, in order to complete uh, the chaos, though, so kaya tanan guys, these are all dependent clause because first, it doesn't have complete thought. Second, it starts with the marker words. Once it starts with the marker word, it will be always dependent clause. But be reminded, in one sometimes in one sentence, it has two independent clause or one dependent clause or two dependent clause and one independent clause. So whatever it is, when we try to dissect those clauses, we can actually get dependent clause and independent clause. Okay. Next is conjunction. So and, or, nor, but, yet, or the fun, boy, something. Uh, am I don't know. Tama ba ko? Conjunction. Yes, that's it. So that is the dependent clause. So what are some things? Dependent clauses must, okay, be reminded, this is critically be followed, must be joined to another clause in order to avoid creating a sentence fragment. Okay, so just like what I told you earlier, when we start with words like before the sunrise, so whatever it is, that is a fragment, that is a sentence fragment. Because why? Because it is a dependent clause. It hasn't a complete thought. It doesn't have a complete thought, and wala siya nakadugtong na independent clause na maghatag og meaning sa tibuok sentence. Okay? So that is the reason why we have a sentence fragment. Okay. One example in here is because I forgot my homework, then nagtuldok dayon ka. Ngano na ginaana maka why of all the earth nagtuldok ka man because I forgot my homework. Why? Unsa di ay? Ngano kung na-forgot din mo imong homework di ay? Unsa di hitabo di ay? So, this sentence is a sentence fragment. This is a sentence fragment. We have a because, right? It starts with because, and that is a marker word. But the question is, why? Why you told us because, or what happened? Anything accompanying or following what happened of the because is that they forgot what happened. So that's the reason why it is a sentence fragment. So let's try to make it clearer and clearer, and let's try to make it not sentence fragment again, but let's add, what should we add? We add independent clause to make the sentence fragment more meaningful, or I mean correct. So right now, because I forgot my homework, I got sent home. So gipauli ko. Here the error is corrected. I got sent home is an example of an independent clause. I is the subject, got is a verb, sent home is the object. So a complete thought is expressed from sentence fragment into complete thought. Okay. So next one is this one. Dependent clauses can become more complex if we add subjects, objects, and um, modifying phrases. So, ganun siya ma-complex. Mahimong ang dependent clause will become more complex when we add some parts of speeches that makes the dependent clause correct, or we can say become a complete sentence with a complete thought. For example, the dependent clause in here is who likes book. So who likes book? Who? What's the name of that who likes book? Why? So right now, let's put a Jim in here. Jim is a subject, so it is a noun. Then who likes book is the dependent clause that modifies Jim. So Jim, who likes book or who likes books, then it contains likes, which is a verb. Though who likes books has a verb, but it doesn't have a a subject. Though it has a who, but who? That is just the who. That is just a question. Next is read. After the comma, we have read is a verb and a book is the object. So all in all, just like what I told you earlier, like just like the independent clauses, a dependent clause can also be complex. The important thing to remember is that the dependent clause does not stand on its own as a complete thought compared to the independent clause that can stand on its own. Okay, so I will just give you another video because it is long right now and the time is running out. Thank you very much. Ciao. See you again.